I've got 4 things you can do to get more work as a photographer on today's episode of
Ask David Bergman.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Here I am as always answering your photography questions. Don't forget to go to AskDavidBergman.com. You can ask your own photo questions right there. Today I've got 2 questions on a similar topic. The first one is from Craig W. and he asked, I'm a venue photographer and would like to work with the bands so I can photograph more than the typical first 3 songs from the pit or soundboard. Each time I reach out, the request is ignored. How can I make the right connections? And then I have a related question from Keith K, who simply asked, how did you become Luke Combs' tour photographer? All right, what both these questions are is really about how to get work as a photographer. I love talking about this stuff. It's not just aperture, shutter speeds, and lighting. It really is about the business things you can do for any kind of a service-based business to separate yourself so that you can get work. Of course, you need to produce excellent images. That's a baseline. That's a given. You have to be a very good photographer. We're always working on our craft as an artist, as a creative person. You're always going to be developing that. But once you get to a certain point, a certain skill level, then you're going to be competing with a lot of other really good photographers. There are so many great photographers out there that you are competing with. So how do you stand out? Well, I've found that there are really 4 general things you can do that are equally important to help you get noticed. The first one is be persistent. Back when I was in college, I wanted to work at the Associated Press, and this was in Miami, and they were the big game in town. Those were the big photojournalists. And so I went into the office and met with Bureau Chief Phil Sandlin. Phil, I hope you're still doing well down there in Florida. And what I did was I bought a box of prints. That was all I really had at the time. I didn't know how to put together a really solid portfolio. This was a long time ago, pre-digital. So I brought in a box of prints, and he was very kind, and he said, you know, your stuff looks good. Call me in the morning, and if there's anything available, any assignments, I'll give you one. And I thought, oh great, I'm in, right? This is what I've been wanting. And I said, what time do you get in the morning? He said, 7 a.m. Oh man, anybody who knows me knows I'm not a morning person, but nevertheless, I set my alarm 6:45. I'd call him in the morning. Hey Phil, David Bergman, anything going on today? Nope. Okay, thanks. And I'd hang up. Next day, called him again, 6:45. Hey Phil, Dave Bergman. Nope, still nothing. All right, so here's the thing. After 3 or 4 days of this, most people give up, right? That's where you say, oh man, he was just being nice. He really didn't want to give me any assignments. He doesn't like my work. He doesn't like me, whatever. So I'm going to give up. That's what most people do. But if you are persistent, what I did on day 4 or 5, I asked Phil, I said, hey, is it okay if I keep calling? He said, yeah, no problem. I was like, okay, be careful what you wish for, right? So I am very persistent. So I called again every day. This took 3 weeks, right? I actually don't remember exactly how long it was. It felt like forever, but it was 2, 3, 4 weeks, something like that, calling every morning, 6:45. And eventually, I don't know if he felt bad for me or if it was just an assignment that nobody else wanted. That was probably the case. He gave me an assignment. Yeah, if you want to do this thing down in Key Largo, it was a drive, and it was a long drive. Nobody else probably wanted to do it. I said, yeah, man, I'm in. And I did it, and I did it as best I could. That picture wound up running in USA Today the next morning, and then Phil called me that morning and assigned me to go photograph Don Shula at Dolphins training camp. And that began my next level of my career at the Associated Press. So eventually I got the job full-time at the Miami Herald. So that really is what kicked it all off. And it was because I didn't give up and I kept being persistent. I gave him an out. I sort of asked him if it's okay, and he said, fine, all right. And so that's where I kept calling. I didn't want to be obnoxious about it, but I just didn't give up when most people would have. All right, that's number 1. Number 2, you want to follow up. Follow up is key in this kind of a business, right? Again, back when I was in high school, I wanted to work at a movie theater, and that was just the thing to do, I guess. And what I did was I went in and I filled out an application, a paper application, and they said, yeah, okay, thanks. And they put it in a stack, and I saw them put it in a stack of papers that high. And I went home, and as expected, I didn't hear anything from that big stack. So about a week later, I went back, and I said, hey, you know, I applied here about a week ago, was hoping I could get an interview. And she said, oh, what's your name? Bergman? Okay. She found my paper in that pile and said, you can go up now and have that interview with management. And what I realized was, nobody else who came in and followed up like that was going to get an interview. There were just too many people. So they weren't just going to go randomly down that giant pack, right? So by going and taking the advantage of going above and beyond and doing that and making that follow-up, I was able to get that interview and wound up selling popcorn at the movie theater. So whatever it is, just following up is key. All right, that's number 2. Number 3, as I just mentioned, go above and beyond, doing things a little bit extra that most people won't do. For example, in my business, I like to give thank you prints. I like to make prints when a client is a little bit helpful. They do anything nice for me, a manager, a band member, whoever it is, a publicist, whoever it is, I want to go above and beyond and give them that little extra thank you. So I've done this many times in my career. I have the Canon Pro 1000 printer at home. I'll make a nice 11 by 14 print on matte paper or fine art paper and leave a border and sign it and date it and send that to somebody. By the way, if you don't have a good printer like that, there are some great companies out there like Printique. I really love Printique. They make great fine art prints. So I'll put links to all this stuff down in the YouTube description. But you can have that stuff printed and then have it sent to you so that you can sign it and package it up really nicely and send it to your client. I can't tell you how many times, a year later, I run into somebody and they say, "Oh man, thanks so much for that picture. I have it hanging on my wall. I look at it every single day." I didn't even know they received it. They never acknowledged it. I didn't want to be pushy about it. But I find out later they've actually been seeing it. And then when I do see them again, that clicks and it all comes together and we're best buds at that point, right? So you just never know. It's just good karma to do that, and you never know when that stuff's going to come back around. So that's just one example of going above and beyond. All right, and then number 4, you need to develop a thick skin. Here's the thing, you're going to hear no a lot more than you're going to hear yes. That's just the nature of the beast. There are way more photographers than there are clients out there. So you're going to get a lot of no's. I still get a lot of no's this deep into my career. Let me address Keith's question about becoming Luke's photographer. Whether it's Luke or Bon Jovi or Sports Illustrated or any of my best clients, these took years and years of persistence and going above and beyond, and I got a lot of no's. With Bon Jovi, I was after every possible band that I could. I really wanted to tour with a big stadium band around the world, and they were just one of the many bands that I was reaching out to. And over the years, if I met somebody who said they were John Bon Jovi's brother's, cousin's, uncle's attorney, I would give them a PDF or a print or something and hope that they could pass it along. And that honestly, most of the time never led to anything, right? But you just got to keep pushing and keep putting stuff out there. There's going to be no's, and it's constantly no's. With Luke Combs, his manager is somebody I met, an old friend who I met 15 years ago when I was working for another band. So I was able to make that connection. And again, when I wanted to do these photo workshops, these shoot from the pit workshops, I approached every band I'd ever worked with, every manager, every producer, anybody I ever knew about this idea, and it was all no's until I got to Luke's manager, and then they were nice enough to say yes, and it's been very, very successful for them and for us. So you just got to develop a thick skin. There's all kinds of reasons why people would say no that have nothing to do with you, and you just can't possibly know what it is. But if you put enough of it out there, eventually you're going to get that yes. And that's the only thing that you're going to see on my social media. I'm only going to talk about the jobs that happened, right? I'm not going to tell you about all the ones that didn't. So, and then Craig's question in particular about getting to the bands as a venue photographer. Here's the thing. You are playing the long game, man. You can't just contact them once and they say no and that's it, right? You really got to be in this for the long haul. It doesn't happen overnight. So you have an advantage in that you already have access. So what I would do is when you're at the show, maybe come early and introduce yourself to the tour manager or the production manager. You don't want to talk to the band. You don't want them to think you're a fan necessarily. That's not the perception you want to give off. This is business. You're a working photographer. So meet the people behind the scenes who are really the important people to meet. So the tour manager, whoever it is you can get to, tell him or her that you'd love to send them an image or two after the show. Then follow up the next day. Make sure you send 1 or 2 killer frames. They have to be really great. You can make them web size with a small watermark so that they can post it on their socials. I wouldn't send high-res files for free. I wouldn't send 100 pictures. Just 1 or 2 great photos sized down. So that's really all they can do and tell them, feel free to post this on your socials if you'd like. I'd really appreciate it. And then hopefully that goes well. They write you back. They post it. You write them back. You follow up. Hey, thanks so much for posting that. It looks great. Can you give me a mailing address? I'd like to send you something, right? And then you go ahead and make a beautiful print and you mail that to them, right? If they're going to be in the same city 2 nights in a row, for example, that's even better. You can go back the next night and give it to them personally, but maybe they're even in the same region within a couple of days and you can make a road trip and go to their next show. If you can do it in person, it's obviously better, but if not, go ahead and mail them that print. If you do go back the next night or something, you have no intention of shooting. You don't want to assume that you're there to shoot. You just want to give them the print, just do something nice for them, and that's it. Of course, be prepared, have your gear in the car or whatever, just in case, you know, where it comes up, hey, we might as well shoot tonight. Sure, you can do it, but you don't want to do it for that reason. You just want to do something nice for them. Don't expect anything to happen right away. And then one more thing, the next time they come to town, whether it's 6 months, a year, 2 years later, you want to follow up with them. Again, don't be too pushy, but when you contact, maybe say, hey, remember, you know, we made that great picture you posted last time. Hope you really liked it. I'm going to be shooting the show tomorrow night. Maybe I could have a little more access. Maybe I could shoot the whole show. I think I can make some great pictures with just a little more time or a little more access. If you can do it, that'd be great. I really appreciate it, right? Something really nice like that. If their response is positive, then you're in, right? So there's a fine line between being persistent and being annoying. I know I've probably pushed that line a couple times in my career, but once in a while, you're going to actually get better access and it's going to work out. So then again, make sure to follow up yet again. When they give you that better access, make that print, do something else, find a way to thank them for that. After developing a relationship over time, then you can pitch them ideas to actually do some work, right? Things that are going to help them. With Bon Jovi, we sold photo prints and we made coffee table books and I generated revenue, right? So I was able to pitch them with that. With Luke, it's about the workshops. And so once you can find a way to help them, instead of just, hey, I'm a good guy and a good photographer, are you going to hire me? It doesn't work like that. So it's a business. Find a way that you can help them. Now, imagine doing all of that. That was one band. Imagine doing that with every band you photograph, right? It's going to build up over time, and eventually you're going to get somewhere with one of those bands. Now, if you're not a venue photographer like he is, you can just apply all of these to your own business, really with any kind of service business. Remember those 4 things. Number 1, be persistent. Do not give up. Number 2, follow up. Try to help them. Don't only reach out to ask for something. Number 3, go above and beyond. They'll remember people who did something extra or unique. And then number 4, develop a thick skin. Don't equate your self-worth with whether someone says yes or no. There are lots of reasons why they may not be able to get to hire you at that time. I've been doing this for 30 years. These qualities build on themselves like compound interest. So this and many other businesses are really all about relationships. People like to work with people they know, like, and trust. Of course, you have to be very good at your job. You have to be a very good photographer. But if you apply these other 4 principles, you'll be on your way to a long, successful photo career. Thanks, Craig and Keith, for asking that. I really appreciate it. Don't forget your own photo questions. Go to AskDavidBergman.com. There's a form there. You can fill it out. You can also see all my gear on there, all the old episodes as well. And then, of course, you're here on Adorama TV. There's so much great free photo content from a bunch of great photo hosts. So thanks for joining us here on Adorama TV. Don't forget, every Monday morning, a new Ask David Bergman comes out. I'll see you back here next time.